Not Buddha nor Muhammad, but it's Jesus we cry out loud. Father, just forgive us. Hear us when we say, we'll give you everything. Our lives and souls today.
Father, you know we need it. I've never seen so much pain. We have the faith for now. Your victory we will gain. Father, you know we mean it. There's no more heart of stone. We're ready for your power. Now the sin is gone. Father, Father, we will say can you hear even me, Lord? See, I'm coming to you, Lord, just as I am. I'm in need of the blood of the Lamb. Oh, my soul, say me, yeah. Oh, yeah. Can you hear me? I know I can't do this by myself. I
Do you believe? Somebody ought to stand up and say, yeah. Lift up your hands and say, yeah. Lift up your hands on your gates, 'cause the King of glory shall come in. Somebody tell me who is the King of glory, the Lord of God, strong and mighty. Do you know Jesus? Turn off your head and say, yeah.
Somebody say,
Oh yeah.
somebody say, help bring Janiah McMichael Rogers home. Tomorrow night, going into the early morning of the 12th of February, be 18 months. No one has seen, heard, or anything from Janiah McMichael Rogers, y'all. Janiah McMichael Rogers, y'all. From Gary, Indiana. She was last seen in the 1900 Virginia Street, Malcolm X Boulevard, Gary, Indiana. She was last seen wearing a black hoodie, black pajama pants, and red and black Jordans. She's 110 to 115 pounds. She's 5'2", and allegedly, she is carrying a baby. So if you see her, please contact the FBI or Gary, Indiana Police Department. Janiah McMichael Rogers is her name. Forever 13. What's happening? What up? What it do? That's for sure. But everybody in my city say, what up, doe? What up? What up, doe? What up, doe, y'all? What's going on? Salute, salute, salute. Shell Baby with the wrench. Shell Baby. I'm glad I hope you're feeling better. I'm glad you're here rocking. Thanks for pulling up on yours truly in the biggest M. I know, you know. So we're gonna read it off like this. Copyright disclaimer under section 107 of the Copyright Act, 1976. Allowance is made for the fair use for purpose such as news reporting, teaching, scholarship, research, comment, and criticism, y'all. Thank you, Shell Baby, for that copyright disclaimer. I'm finna pin it in a minute. Fair use is a use permitted by the copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the favor of fair use, y'all. It's in effect. You can't say I didn't say it. It's in the description. You saw me say it. Y'all know the rest. And like Shell Baby said, any music you hear throughout this demonstration, I do not own rights to it. It's not my music. Shell Baby says hello, JJ, and Big M. Blessings to both of you. Thank you. Salute. Blessings to you, Shell Baby with the wrench. I hope you're feeling better again, and I hope you know you had a good birthday and all that, and some more stuff, y'all. So let me shout out to the replay gang. Salute, salute, salute. Let yours truly in the biggest M. I know, you know. Let us know what you think. Leave us a comment. You know, hit the thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet. Share it out. It's free. 99. It's free. To the Bushwatchers, I see y'all right up there. I see my viewers. Yeah, y'all. While you're sitting up there, if you don't happen to fall down and want to get in the conversation, take whatever finger you would like. Real smooth like. Real cool like. And tap on the thumbs up button for yours truly in the biggest M. I know. You know? Hell yeah. Oh yeah. It's cold in Michigan, in Detroit. We got some snow on the ground. It's cold. It's cold, so you might want to stop and get you a green jacket. And me and Big M both talked about it. We think you would look better in green over here. Just saying, just our opinion. But even if you don't, we still rock with you. You know what I'm saying? It's all love over here. It's real over here. Real. You know. Yeah, and I hope everybody's having the smoothest, the coolest, and the 100% truest day they could ever have. You know? Hell yeah. So, Shell Baby with the wrench. Have you heard about the story, the 10-year-old Terrell girl? She was 10 years old. She went missing to unalived. What's her name? I think it's Brasia Terrell. Hold on. Yeah, Brasia Terrell. That's what it is. Brasia Terrell. Oh, 10 years old, y'all. Diabolical. One of my members and also a subscriber asked me to cover this story. Shout out to Miss Jackson. You are for real. She never meant to make you cry. Just kidding. Yeah, Miss Jackson reached out to me and asked me to specifically cover this case. It's worth covering. It's sad. It is. So we're gonna break it down. Diggy down. So anytime, you know, one of my members, subscribers, or even if you're not a subscriber, the email's running across that ticker right there. Shoot yours truly an email in the biggest M I know. We'll break a case down for you. That's how me and Big M met. You know, she reached out to me and asked me to break down her case. And we've been rocking hard ever since. Salute to you, Big M. So yeah, anytime, let me know. Or let Big M know, and we got y'all. You know what I'm saying? So, we're gonna go ahead and break this down. Brasia Terrell was 10 years old. May she rest in peace. Let's listen and react.
At 8 o'clock in the morning, and she would have never.
What you mean? 8 o'clock in the morning.
I'm just saying.
That ain't what I said. I never.
Never First of all, she would have never woke up at 8 o'clock in the morning, and she would have never.
What you mean? 8 o'clock in the morning.
I'm just saying.
That ain't what I
She
said. I
definitely.
never
I know
said.
you didn't
Guys,
say that.
this isn't the time to fight.
Exactly. I don't give a about you walking. You lost her though.
How do you lose
Because
shit?
you was watching her, Henry. What do you mean?
But hey,
I'm going.
On this episode of Black Girl Gone, I tell the story of Breasia Terrell, who was 10 years old when she disappeared from Davenport, Iowa on July 10th, 2020. The night before she was last seen, she had been staying with her brother and his father at his father's girlfriend's apartment. But by the next morning, Breasia was gone, sparking a desperate search that would end months later with the heartbreaking discovery of her body and the revelation that the person responsible was someone her family knew and thought they could trust. This is Breasia's story. It was the middle of summer in Davenport, Iowa, and for 10-year-old Breasia Terrell, summer meant time with friends, her family, and her little brother. She was a bright, bubbly girl, full of energy, quick to smile, and always ready to help. And on the evening of July 9th, 2020, Breasia was going to have a sleepover, not with friends from school, but with her half-brother. He was going to spend time with his father, a man named Henry Dinkins. But by the following morning, the quiet normalcy of that summer had been shattered. Breasia was gone. No one could find her. And as hours passed, her family's worry deepened into a kind of fear that you could feel in your bones. The fear that something was very, very wrong. And within hours, police were involved. An Amber Alert was eventually issued. Volunteers began searching, and word spread quickly through Davenport and beyond. Because how could a 10-year-old vanish in the middle of the night? And more importantly, where was Breasia? Breasia Terrell was born on December 4th, 2009 in Davenport, Iowa, to Aisha Langford. Her mother described her as smart, caring, and responsible, a child who looked out for her younger siblings and took school seriously. She had a close relationship with her family, and even at a young age, she showed a maturity beyond her years, often helping her mother around the house and making sure that her younger siblings were safe. Friends and relatives remembered her for her smile and her willingness to help. Breasia also loved the simple childhood pleasures like hanging with friends, playing outside, and making TikTok videos. Her life, though ordinary in many ways, was filled with the hope and potential of any child her age. She attended Jackson Elementary School, where
I just want to say this. These are the type of cases I like to break down. They're my favorite because it's not an open investigation. So we can state our opinions. We can state how we feel because when we cover open investigations, like a few that we know of, we can't. We're not detectives. We can only advocate, and we never would want to jeopardize the integrity of the victim's case, right? So that's why these are my favorite because we can say how we feel because at times I can be really opinionated. Yeah. Open investigations are very hard, but when you know better, you do better. So that's why I like to cover these cases because, again, we can say how we feel. So let's keep listening, y'all.
she was known as a quote-unquote truth teller, someone whose honesty and integrity stood out even at a young age. Her life was just beginning, full of the small routines, familiar faces, and the ordinary rhythm of childhood. But even the most ordinary days can shift in an instant, and the summer of 2020 would be one that changed everything. On Thursday, July 9th, 2020, it started like any other day. That day, Breasia was spending time with her 8-year-old half-brother and his father at his girlfriend's apartment in Davenport, Iowa. Henry's girlfriend, Andrea Culberson, was also home that day. That morning, a neighbor recalled seeing Breasia walking near the apartment, and it's believed that her and her brother had spent the day enjoying the early days of their summer. As the evening approached, Breasia remembered to send her mom a good night text from Henry's phone. Her mother replied, quote unquote, "Good night. I love you, Bria. Thank you." Everything felt normal. And according to Andrea, the children were in the bedroom playing video games while she and Henry stayed in the living room. Henry had lent both Breasia and his son two of his oversized 4XL white shirts to wear as pajamas. Now, it was a detail that his son later described as unusual because their mother had already left pajamas for them. But Andrea went to bed before midnight, and Henry stayed awake on the couch. And in those final hours before the morning, Breasia's night seemed ordinary, filled with the laughter and games of kids playing. But that night would mark the last time that her family would see her safe and sound. And by the following morning, Friday, July 10th, Breasia was gone. A little after 8 a.m., Henry called Aisha. He told her that he had just woken up and discovered that Breasia was missing. He said that he was heading to the police station to report it. Now, Aisha had just arrived for work when she got the call. Quote, at first I laughed because it sounded like a joke. It didn't make any sense. It's not like her. She would never walk out, especially in the middle of the night. In the dark? No, never, she told Dateline. She was immediately worried about her daughter. She frantically left work and began calling Henry to try and find out what was going on. Initially, he didn't answer her calls, but eventually they spoke and made plans to meet. They met at a local McDonald's where she questioned him about Breasia's whereabouts, but he insisted that when he woke up, she was gone and he didn't know anything else. Now, Aisha was understandably angry, and so she took it upon herself to call the police. But when she called the Davenport police, they told her that Henry had not gone to the station like he said that he was. Something was wrong. Like she said to Dateline, Breasia wasn't the kind of kid that would have left in the middle of the night. She was only 10. And despite Henry's insistence that he was asleep and didn't know anything, his answers and demeanor were off. And so after police were called, they came to the apartment complex where Andrea, Henry's girlfriend, lived and where Breasia was last seen to meet Aisha. Body cam footage captured what happened next. As Davenport Patrol Officer Burkle did by her voice tight, words slipped, and Burkle asked her if had lived there. She replied, quote, this is where Henry did not call Breasia as his young son who walked toward the officer. When the officer asked when they had last seen Breasia, Henry said around 9:30 p.m. the night before. And his son added that when he went to bed, Breasia was still asleep. The officer then asked for a description, and the boy told him she had been wearing a white t-shirt, the one that Henry had given her. When asked if he knew anyone in the complex, Henry claimed that he didn't. Now, Aisha had briefly walked away while the officer spoke to Henry, but she returned, telling the officer that she didn't have a recent photo of her daughter with her. And she told him that she had already mobilized friends and family. Her uncle was out searching her way, and friends were heading over to help. Henry claimed that he had, quote unquote, looked everywhere for Breasia, saying that he had drove around alone before taking his son with him to search. But tension quickly bubbled over. Aisha and Henry began arguing, and then she got in her car and drove off. The officer, however, continued his questioning with Henry, heading to the apartment of his girlfriend, Andrea. Now, Henry knocked on the door and then told the officer that Andrea would take it from there and then walk down the sidewalk. When she answered the door, Andrea, however, was reluctant to let the officer in. She pointed in the direction that Henry had walked and asked if he knew that police wanted to search her apartment. The officer said yes, and then
Show baby, is it better? Is it better, show baby? Let me know. If not, I might have to shut it down. I might have to come right back, y'all.
Eventually, she did allow him inside. He then checked every room and every
No, I appreciate you, show baby. It was my fault. That was me. I had like 13,000 tabs open. Let's keep listening. Thank you, show baby.
closet, but there was nothing. Now, as he left, he asked if Briasia had any friends in the complex and if Andrea planned to help look for her. Then he began walking the length of the complex, scanning the sidewalks, the open spaces, anywhere a child might be. But while the officer was searching his girlfriend's apartment, Henry left the scene. Now, Burkle still needed more information from him, but when he looked around, Henry was gone. And so he called the number that he had given him, but there was no answer. He tried again and again, and over the next hour, he called 6 times, but was unable to reach him. And each time, he couldn't leave a voicemail because the inbox was full. And then finally, at 10:43 a.m., nearly 2 hours after the initial missing child report, Burkle sent him a text message, but then again, he got no response. But just after noon, Henry finally called the officer back. At 12:04 p.m., he told Officer Burkle that he was walking into the Davenport Police Department to speak with investigators about Briasia's disappearance. Now, once inside an interview room, Henry answered the phone again when Burkle called. He claimed that he hadn't noticed the earlier calls and was quote unquote just answering it now. But moments later, another officer entered, took the phone, and informed the officer that Henry was already there in the station. And so a detective joined him in the interview room. But right away, it became clear that Henry wasn't going to make this process easy. Now, when asked for his
Henry, why you do that? This shit's sad, y'all. Me and Big M talk about it all the time. Because I always say it's a new normal. And she's like, don't say, like, she says it sounds weird me saying that. It is weird, but I remember back again, people that have been tuning into me for a long time, probably heard me say this. Back in the day, Andrea Yates, when she did that to her 5 shorties, one by one in the bathtub, shocked the nation. Shocked the whole nation. It was shocking. You know, well, I don't know what it is like in your city, but in my city, in Detroit, it's it's not shocking anymore. It happens so often. Some of the cases don't even get covered. Some of the kids still ain't found. So, and some of the parents got away with it. So, I just remember back in the day, I'm only 33, so I'm not that old, so not too back in the day, when that case came about. Again, it shocked the nation. I want to tell y'all something. So, baby, I know you're in here. You covered the case with me. Our girl, Naziah. It's in here in Detroit. I've ran into 5 Detroit people on TikTok. And I asked them if they knew about the Naziah Harris case, and all 5 said no. After 2 years, and all 5 of them, the reason we got on the topic, we were throwing coins, so we were all in the bottle of the boxes, and the host is from Detroit. I was in there, and 2 other people from Detroit, so it was like 4 people on the panel from Detroit. So the host was like, "Shout out Detroit, shout out Detroit." And then, I change my name all the time. I'm always changing my name every 7 days. Because if you know, you know. And she asked me, she said, "JJ, why you keep changing your name?" The host. And I said, I had told her, I had to, I cover cases and things like that. And she asked me, and then I said, "You ain't heard about Isaiah Harris?" She's like, "Nah." And I'm like, "What?" And it's been 2 years. And then I asked the two other ladies, and neither one of them heard about it. So everybody but Detroit knows about Isaiah Harris, y'all. Everybody but Detroit. I just want to let y'all know that. We got to do better, Detroit. Yeah, so, this guy right here, Henry, his conscience is starting to eat at him, and his tactics can't work anymore because he's not dealing with the shorty. Now you're dealing with the po-po. Let's keep listening. Yeah, Shaw baby. It's crazy. I was like, what the hell? It's crazy. And then it made me think, Shaw baby, what if it's like, we've been rocking with each other for a minute. So all the content, the few, not all of them, but some of them. If you know, you know. What if it's only us, and we think that it's such a high-profile case? Because I keep hearing it be called a high-profile case, but there's no coverage. Did you know the news was in there on the 23rd of January? They still have not yet dropped any update. Why was the news in there? But Detroit don't care anyway. It's crazy. But I'm going to change all that here soon, y'all. Don't trip.
His home address. He said that he didn't know the number, just that it was on Schmidt Road near Purina. He couldn't recall his son's own last name, and
Shell baby, I know it lagged, so I'm sorry. I should have waited a minute. This is the last pause, and we're not gonna get off subject anymore. Thank you, Shell baby. I know I'm not crazy, and a lot of us were really intrigued. I don't want to say the word obsessed. A lot of us. I was super intrigued, super. It's been 2 years, and people are still only talking about her. They're doing this. To the point where, they're making shit up now on this baby girl's name, But, Shell baby, I don't think it's as nationwide as people think it is. I don't. I think it's our circle. And I could think of 1, 2, 3, 4 content creators, Shell baby, you know. And then subscribers and us. And then, our mind. In our mind, we tell ourselves that. But if it was such a high profile nationwide case, just like Nancy Guttru, there's an update right now. Every fucking hour on the hour. They're fucking... that's a high-profile case. Am I right or am I wrong? But Nancy, oh by golly, we're not going to miss a fucking minute. I promise you that. But that's nationwide. Shell baby. I'm with you when you're right. And I think we're right. Because... I'm not gonna lie. I've asked a lot of people around me, and I can go in the stores and stuff like that. Like, the courthouse only knows me because I kept going to court. A lot of people in Detroit, guess what? Still don't know about our girl Isaiah Harris. Fucking sad. So, how about that? To all the CCs are like, it ain't about. It's just about bringing awareness. Because we need a hell of a lot more. Because still, 90% of Detroit don't know about Isaiah Harris. So it wasn't enough awareness brought. Because we've been doing this. So, how about that?
he referred to Andrea, the woman he had stayed with that night, and who others described as his girlfriend, as just a quote unquote close friend. But he also acknowledged that he regularly used her Chevy Impala. Now, when detectives pressed him for a timeline of the previous night, Henry claimed that after everyone had gone to bed, he left the apartment to visit a friend named Vince. But according to him, no one answered the door. And so he drove back to Andrea's apartment, gone for about 45 minutes in total. Now, upon returning, he said that he noticed that Briasia wasn't there. He said that he looked around outside and then came back inside where Andrea was awake. And she asked if he was okay, but he admitted that he didn't tell her that Briasia was missing. Instead, he suggested that because she was sitting on the couch when he got back, that she must have probably known. He then claimed to have left again, this time to a nearby quick stop to buy cigarettes. Now, when he came back, he grabbed Dink, his 8-year-old son, who was sitting on the couch. His son asked where Briasia was, and Henry told him that he didn't know. From there, he said that he and his son drove around looking for Briasia. At one point, they stopped by a motorhome on Schmidt Road so that he could get gas money. And then only after that did he call Briasia's mother at work to tell her that her daughter was missing. The two then met, and he said that he had never seen her so angry with him. Henry recalled that while speaking with Officer Burkle back at the apartment complex earlier that morning, that he was trying to stay calm. He claimed that Aisha was, quote unquote, at her limit emotionally, and even the officer seemed frustrated, telling him that he couldn't help without more information. Henry said that he left to continue searching, driving all over the Quad Cities area before eventually going to his sister's house on 39th Street in Davenport. Now, when the detective brought printed Google Maps into the room and asked Dinkins to show where he went, Henry said that he couldn't remember the exact route, only that he had gone everywhere. He added that he hadn't stopped to talk to anyone and had stayed inside the Impala. Now, when asked if they could download his call log from his phone, he refused to give them the passcode unless he could watch them go through the device. And when he did, he questioned the detective about why he was standing so close when he entered the code. Now, the detective told him that he was just trying to make sure that nothing was deleted. But as they looked through the phone, the detective began to point out multiple missed calls from Aisha that morning. Henry, however, brushed it off, saying that his phone, quote unquote, acts up sometimes. Now, finally, when asked who might want to take Briasia, Henry responded with questions of his own. Why? For what reason? Adding that Briasia was definitely a good kid. But by the time that interview wrapped, one thing had become clear. Henry's version of events was full of holes. The timeline didn't add up, and the details seemed to shift depending on how the questions were asked. He couldn't recall where he went, couldn't name streets, and offered explanations that seemed to raise more questions than answers. And all the while, Briasia was still missing. And every passing hour without answers felt heavier, more urgent. Investigators were beginning to wonder, was Henry telling them everything that he knew? Or was the truth about what happened to Briasia hidden somewhere in the silence between his words? In the early morning hours of July 10th, 2020, 10-year-old Briasia Terrell vanished without a trace after what should have been a simple sleepover. By sunrise, the quiet apartment complex was the center of a growing mystery. A child gone, a story that didn't add up, and a search that would soon grip the entire community. Early in the investigation, police quickly focused on Henry Dinkins and the timeline that he provided. He claimed to have no idea what happened to his son's sister, 10-year-old Briasia Terrell. Yet there were only 2 adults in the apartment that night. Now, the situation became even more concerning when authorities discovered that Henry was a registered sex offender, stemming from a 1999 conviction. Now, although they had no evidence to charge him in connection with Briasia's disappearance at that time, he had failed to provide an updated address to the state of Iowa, as required by sex offenders, and so police were able to hold him on those violations, buying them time to find out what really happened to Breasia and whether Henry had anything to do with it. As investigators worked to untangle the confusing timeline, they turned to the people who had been in the apartment that night. The first to be interviewed was Andrea, Henry's girlfriend, whose account would soon raise serious questions. She recalled waking around 3 a.m. on July 10th to find both Henry and Breasia missing from the apartment. Alarmed, she called Henry, but his phone was turned off. Now, concerned, she stayed awake, waiting to see if they would return. And around 3:30 a.m., Henry did come back. But when Andrea tried to speak with him, he didn't answer her questions. Instead, he grabbed something from his closet, she couldn't see what it was, and said only, "I'll be back." And then she looked outside, and Andrea saw something chilling. Breasia, standing next to the Chevrolet Impala, still wearing the white t-shirt that she had worn to bed. Moments later, Henry drove away, and Breasia was gone. Now, while Andrea's account gave investigators a chilling glimpse of Breasia's last known moments, they needed more details about what happened afterward. That's when they spoke with Breasia's 8-year-old brother, whose statements would provide a clearer, yet even more disturbing picture of that morning. Now, he told police that on the morning of July 10th, his father picked him up, but Breasia was no longer with him. He said that they had gone to Credit Island together, and investigators later searched the area after Breasia was reported missing. He also recalled seeing his father pull out a large knife and wipe it down while they were by the motorhome on Schmidt Road. From there, Henry drove to Walmart and Clinton, despite another Walmart being much closer to the apartment in Davenport. Now, a receipt later confirmed that he bought 2 jugs of bleach from the Clinton store. And then after leaving the Walmart, they drove to a pond near Kunal Implement, where his son stayed in the car, but watched his father pour bleach near some bushes. And then instead of returning to the apartment afterward, Henry drove straight to his motorhome. But days after Breasia was reported missing, the urgency of the investigation had intensified. Authorities had issued an Amber Alert, sharing her description with the public in hopes that someone, anywhere, might recognize her and provide information that could lead to her safe return. At around the same time, Henry Dinkins was officially named a person of interest, placing him under intense scrutiny as investigators worked to piece together his movements that night. The FBI also joined the case, lending their expertise and resources to help analyze phone data, surveillance footage, and other evidence. Now, their work allowed investigators to start reconstructing the critical hours after Breasia was last seen. To encourage tips and information, a $10,000 reward was announced for anyone.
So baby says, what the hell is wrong with that girlfriend? Why she didn't go up there and get that little girl, call the police? Sounds like somebody I know in another case. You know, the one that had that purple dress on, the purple dress, Shell Baby. She probably didn't care. We're going to find out, though, and we can talk as much shit as we want because this is not an open investigation. I like that. I love that. But you're right. It's diabolical these days. These parents, these mandated reporters, these life coaches, these doctors, these lawyers, these counselors, all these, CPS, daycare workers. What are y'all doing? What are y'all doing? And I don't even know if it's crazy work. Shell Baby says, I know just what you're talking about. Oh yeah. Yeah. If you know, you know. I don't get it. It's an epidemic at this point. I didn't know we were going to hear that. And he's on the registry. I already know where this story's going, y'all, because I'm reacting to it. This is, I had, you know, I read a little bit about it, but this is like, I don't know every single detail. So it's a closed investigation. So, again, we're reacting so we can pop our ish, you know, because, yeah. We would never want to compromise the integrity of an open investigation. It doesn't even have to be a high profile case, but an open investigation. When you know better, you do better, y'all. Let's keep listening. Thank you, Shell Baby. That's all love. You already know.
One who could provide leads that might help locate her. Every call, every piece of information became vital as authorities raced against time, desperate for answers about what happened to the young girl. After obtaining a search warrant, police downloaded data from Henry's phone and subpoenaed cell phone records from the provider. That information was handed over to the FBI, who organized the data and created maps to track movements. And then detectives canvassed roughly 100 businesses in the area for surveillance footage, and a significant amount of video was collected. The footage quickly provided a timeline. At 5:57 a.m., the Impala appeared on a resident camera in the 6100 block of Eastern Avenue, heading north. Just 2 minutes later, at 5:59 a.m., it was captured on Jersey Ridge Road, heading south, before being seen again northbound at 6:05. By 6:11, the vehicle was recorded on Highway 61 at mile marker 124, and by 6:43, it had reached Pash Farms on Highway 30, just west of Clinton. At 6:49, it was captured at the First Central Bank in Clinton, and then on the Walmart lot, where video shows Henry buying two 81-ounce bottles of Clorox bleach, paying in cash at 7:08 a.m. Cell phone tracking added more layers to the timeline. Now, the phone didn't ping any towers while traveling north on Highway 61, only showing activity at the Clinton Walmart. According to Briasia's brother,
So I want to take a pause to pop my ish for a second because, for one, this is what I mean. Back in the day, when they didn't have DNA testing, they didn't have all this technology. You know, you could leave a skin a dandruff scale behind a drop of dandruff off your head in a crime scene, and you're gonna get busted. That's where we're at now. That's where we've came. So I don't get these criminals who do these heinous, egregious acts, use their phone, and but they think if they tell themselves, because they think they're above the program. They think that they're God. They think they're better than, you know, the average human being, obviously, because they think that if they think about it so much and they control it, it'll be what they think. What? That's scary. Cause it's real life out here, y'all. There's only one God, and we all bleed the same. And just cause you tell yourself, whatever the fuck you gotta tell yourself, just like these criminals that get on them jailhouse phones and still talk. It says right there, you are on a recorded fucking line. And we all know they don't want to get caught. They just think they're above the program. So that's something to look out for. If you are around people and they think that they're above the program or better, you know, than you or Joe Blow, Dick or Harry, Mo, you know, I would get the fuck away from them. That's a very telltale sign. Run. Fast. Knees to chest. Let's keep listening.
while his father was inside the store, he had put a battery back in his phone so that he could use it. And then on the trip back, He removed it so that his father, quote unquote, wouldn't get in trouble. But after leaving the Walmart, the Impala was seen again at 7:10 on the bank camera heading west, and then 7:15 on the Pash Farms camera, and then later the DeWitt Travel Center at 7:26. By 7:52, it was recorded southbound on Highway 61 at mile marker 124. Now, investigators were focused on 2 points: mile marker 124 on Highway 61 and Pash Farms on Highway 30. Now, the drive between the two should have taken about 22 minutes at the speed limit, yet the highway cameras indicated that it took roughly 32 minutes. And by 8:08 a.m., Henry's phone pinged again in southwest Davenport around the time that he reportedly called Aisha. Every camera and every timestamp, every piece of data was being stitched together to reconstruct that morning and to answer the central question haunting everyone. Where was Breasia? And what really happened? Even with the mounting evidence and growing suspicion surrounding Henry, investigators faced a critical problem. They still lacked direct evidence. There was no concrete proof of what had happened to Breasia, no eyewitness account.
See, the word I like to use is the smoking gun. Like I learned that from the OJ case because there was 23 smoking guns. They had 23 smoking clear cut to convict him, but he still got off. We talked about that in one of my demonstrations. The smoking gun. No smoking gun. And Shell Baby, are you still in here? Let me see, because I know I'm ahead. And everybody, if you forgot, don't forget to take whatever finger and tap on that thumbs up button for yours truly and the biggest M. I know, All right, real quick, Shell Baby. And I used to have thin skin. I don't anymore. I want to ask you a question. Big Mama, are you in my bushes? If you are, please kindly drop down. But I just want to ask you something because you've been rocking with me. Would you pay $50 for my content? And I'm not going to be mad at you. I mean, I didn't think anybody would pay that. That's why I said it to that. And that's just me being real. I just want to ask you that question real quick and then I'll move on. And Big Mama, thank you for the membership. But, Shell Baby, before, I just want to say this. As when you know better, you do better. Naziah's case right now, well, I'm just, like, realistically, I know because you would support me, but realistically, I'm telling y'all that is not worth $50. I had to membership my videos to protect some things, just to protect my page. So I didn't think anybody would pay that. And so my thing is, Shell Baby, at this point with Naziah Harris's case, if a lot of people don't realize, it's to the point, it's been 2 years, it's now demonic. Not only has her body not been uncovered, her spirit can't even rest. It's real demonic. People have been running plays and catching strays, plays, making money off of baby girls more than they have even looked for her. God don't like ugly. So I had to realize that. And I had to take a step back. And as I kept taking a step back, because when you know better, you do better. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? But doing mock trials and talking about the doctor and a rip in her behind and things like that is and just lies, straight fucking lies. You don't think her spirit is upset? So at this point, it's demonic. So I think anybody who's still messing around the way they're messing around, eek. I'm praying for you. But I noticed this back to what we said about the high profile cases only. And then what I also did notice, and this is why I have to speak on Big Mama, because I have to say what's on my chest. And you paid $50 for my membership content. And I noticed with Shell Baby, you're a real one. You're a real one. But I noticed there's several subscribers, when I paid attention, that go to each and every single one of us. Several. I've been paying attention. I've been paying the fuck attention. It's crazy. So again, it broke my heart to even realize that, Shell Baby. The realization that the Naziah hasn't even really got the coverage that we think that she has gotten. That's the fucking truth. Because you know I like to do science experiments. You know what I'm saying? I've been asking a lot of people just to do it. To do my experiment. No. No. And another thing we have to think about, Shell Baby, people can buy subscribers here on this internet and viewers and things like that. So just because it says that there's all those viewers, we don't really know. It's the internet. But if the news, if I go to my YouTube right now, it's nothing but Nancy. Nancy Gruchu. Or how the fuck you say her last name. My bad. To get me in, they're trying to get me in trouble. They're trying to get my page took, and they're trying to get me in trouble. But the funny thing is, Big Mama, is if you guys notice, my whole page went black for a couple days. You know, it felt like months for yours truly, because I loved to be in my space. I don't know, it was a couple days, you know. My whole page, I had people hit me up, what happened to your page, what happened to your page? Nothing, it's still here. But if you don't know, now you do know. On the 26th of February, it'll be 4 months since I started here on YouTube. And I've done over 200 and something videos. If you look at my videos, I only have 20 posted right now, because I locked the rest up in the vault. So, Big Mama, you're not going to find. They're all in the vault. But thank you for supporting the channel. And I knew it. I fucking knew it from the beginning. I knew it in my gut. And I gave her a chance. I'll never go against my gut again. I swear to y'all. Thank you guys. I'll never go against my gut. Because I know in the beginning, I was, man. But again, it's cool because I've been 10 steps ahead of y'all. Y'all know they know the old me. They don't know the real me. Yeah. And I definitely have been paying attention. And we're rebuilding over here. And we're building a new community because, again, this platform started with Naziah Harris, but it's not ending, and we have to move forward. Zamar King, his trial starts in April. I'll be in court on Friday. But that's what I wanted to say on that. About the subscribers, if you notice, Shell Baby. I'll hit you on the back end about specific ones that you even know. They're not real. They're trolls. Especially Aggie with the wrench. My day oneer. My A1 day one. I thought. Even we went through it. She hit me up. Apologized, everything. I seen all your comments, Aggie. You was over here supporting me. You was over here supporting me break them Buffies down. Now you want me to get locked up? You hope I get locked up? I'm telling you, I'll tell you the rest on the back end. We just had to take a little commercial break. Because we do. Oh yeah, she did. And don't worry, because you know yours truly loves her receipts. I have every fucking comment you made, Aggie, after you apologize. It's sickening to know that there's a lot of people out here that rock with you, pray on you. I cashed out Aggie money, everything. Everything. I thought she was a real supporter, but it was a troll. And I was right in my gut too about Aggie. But I just no there but there's no more of that. There's no more of that. And it's sad. It's all surrounded by Naziah Harris's name. And I refuse to be a part of that. So yeah, I'll call you later though, Shaw baby. We're gonna move on. We gotta take a little commercial break because I gotta talk in between, or it's just YouTube incentives, you know.
Placing her in danger beyond that early morning sighting, and no physical evidence linking Henry to a crime. Every lead seemed to circle back to questions, inconsistencies, and unanswered parts of the timeline. As the days turned into weeks, the case began to stall. Tips from the public slowed. Surveillance and phone data only raised more questions than it answered, and authorities were left piecing together fragments of a story that still didn't add up. Despite the Amber Alert, the reward, and the involvement of the FBI, investigators had yet to uncover the critical piece of evidence that would explain Breage's disappearance. And most importantly, they also hadn't found her. The clock was ticking, and the uncertainty weighed on both the investigators and her family. But after months of stalled leads and unanswered questions, the case took a tragic turn in March 2021. On March 22nd, police were alerted by the Clinton County Sheriff's Department that human remains had been found in a wooded area south of Kunau Implement in DeWitt, roughly 20 miles north of Davenport. The remains were located about 20 yards from a pond. Now, according to investigators, the body was partially concealed under leaves and branches, some of which appeared to have been cleanly cut and deliberately placed. The remains included 2 bullet fragments, and during the autopsy at the Iowa Division of Criminal Investigation, a 3rd bullet projectile was recovered. The discovery came when 3 men fishing near the pond noticed a skull, and upon closer inspection, what appeared to be human remains. The body was wearing a 4XL white t-shirt, and there were seashells affixed to the black dreadlocks, matching exactly what Breasia had been last seen wearing, and the hairstyle her mother Aisha had described. DNA testing and dental records later confirmed that the remains were indeed Breasia Terrell's. The grim discovery finally provided investigators with tangible evidence, confirming the worst fears of her family, while opening the door to piecing together the final hours of her life and the path that led to her death. Now, with Breage's remains recovered, investigators shifted into a critical phase of the case. For the first time, they had physical evidence to connect the timeline of that morning to the location of her death. The discovery of bullet projectiles underscored the violence of what had occurred and focused the investigation on proving how Henry's actions led directly to her death. Now, using the evidence they had already collected, investigators began mapping a sequence of movements that placed Henry near key locations, including the wooded area where Breasia was ultimately found. Every detail, the stops, the routes, was examined in a new light, building a stronger connection between Henry and the crime. And this breakthrough transformed the investigation. What had stalled for months due to lack of evidence now had a central focus, and law enforcement worked to gather the proof necessary to hold the person responsible accountable. The case was no longer about locating Breasia. She had been found. It was about establishing exactly what had happened and ensuring that justice would follow. Over a month after Breasia's remains were discovered, detectives had finally gathered enough evidence to formally charge Henry Dinkins. Clinton County Attorney Jeff Walton announced that Henry Dinkins was being charged with first-degree murder and first-degree kidnapping charges in connection with her death. Quote, "This morning, Henry Earl Dinkins was charged in the death of 11-year-old Breasia Terrell," Walton said. "Because it's a pending case, we cannot talk about the results of the investigation in detail." And then Walton read from the charging documents, which state that Henry removed and confined Breasia from her home and, quote unquote, with premeditation, malice, and forethought, had the intent to kill her. The documents also note that Henry shot Breasia and that she was taken, quote, without consent or authority or by deception. 3 years after Breasia was murdered, the trial for Henry Dinkins began on August 10th, 2023. And from the onset, it was notable that Henry had opted for a bench trial, meaning that a judge, rather than a jury, would decide his guilt. This decision placed the entire case in the hands of the court. Prosecutors presented a detailed timeline, starting with Breasia's last known moments, the witness accounts from Andrea Culberson and his son, and the inconsistencies in Henry's statements. Surveillance footage, phone records, and forensic evidence were carefully laid out to show his movements and actions on the morning that Breasia disappeared, building a comprehensive narrative of the crime. The defense, however, challenged parts of the investigation. They questioned the reliability of witness testimony, and they scrutinized the evidence, attempting to cast doubt on their client's involvement. Yet, despite their efforts, the evidence presented by prosecutors painted a clear and damning picture of his actions and intent. After days of testimony, reviews of evidence, and courtroom deliberations, the judge delivered the verdict. Henry Dinkins was found guilty of first-degree murder and first-degree kidnapping in the death of Breasia Terrell. The bench trial left no room for ambiguity. The case presented by prosecutors had convinced the court beyond a reasonable doubt of his guilt. In October 2003, the sentencing hearing took place, and the hearing brought the case full circle, confronting the raw pain and devastation left in Breasia's wake. On the day of the hearing, Scott County State's Attorney Kelly Cunningham outlined the state's recommendation: life in prison without the possibility of parole. She detailed Henry's criminal record, which stretched back to 1989, including ongoing substance abuse issues and multiple violations, and stressed the lasting impact on his own children. Cunningham spoke directly about Breasia's brother, describing a child, quote-unquote, completely derailed, struggling with trauma, anger, and the aftermath of losing his sister in such a violent way. She urged that the sentence be served consecutively, one after the other, to ensure that the full weight of the law addressed the gravity of Henry's crimes. Restitution was also requested for the Crime Victims Assistance Program, and she noted that Breasia's body remained in the custody of the state medical examiner 3 years later. But Henry's attorney argued for concurrent sentences, saying that his client would spend the rest of his life in prison regardless, but that the sentences should overlap. Henry Dinkins then read a statement expressing frustration at the process and claiming that his rights had been violated, asserting that he had been, quote-unquote, railroaded from the start. He spoke about media coverage, alleged bias, and even addressed his son and Breasia's mother during his statement, portraying himself as misunderstood. Aisha also took the stand afterward, speaking through tears about the heartbreak and betrayal that she felt. She addressed Henry directly, quote, "You broke my trust and emotions. You took my baby girl from me and just gunned her down. How do you sleep at night?" She described watching her children's lives unravel, the loss of innocence, the trauma that would never fully heal. Her words were raw, unfiltered, and filled with grief that could not be contained in a courtroom. Judge Latham acknowledged Henry's lengthy criminal history and the need to protect society, and then he sentenced Henry Dinkins to 2 life sentences without the possibility of parole for both the murder and the kidnapping charges to be served consecutively. Breasia Terrell was just 10 years old, a child full of life and dreams that will never be realized. Her time in this world was cruelly cut short, leaving a silence that can never be filled. Her family is left with grief that stretches beyond words. Her brother carries scars that will last a lifetime. Her mother, Aisha, holds the pain of a child taken too soon and a future that was stolen before it began. No sentence, no courtroom, no words can restore what was lost. All that remains is the memories, her smile, her spirit, and the heartbreak of knowing what might have been.
Yeah, may she rest in peace. Wow, forever 10. May she rest in peace. Let's see. Yes. Thank you, Shell Baby. Yeah. So, real quick, this is in Ecclesiastes chapter 4. Okay? We're gonna read verse 1 through 6. Well, I am. Again, I considered all the oppression that take place under the sun, the tears of the victims with none to comfort them. From the hand of the oppressor comes violence, and there is none to comfort them. And those now unalived, I declare, more fortunate in earth than are the living to be still alive. And better off than both is the yet unborn who has not seen the wicked work that is done under the sun. Then I saw that all toil and skillful work is the rivalry of one man for another. This also is a vanity and chase after wind. The fool folds his arms and consumes his own flesh. Better is one handful with tranquility than 2 with turmoil, a chase after the wind. Well, Miss Breasia is in a better place. It says it right there. It's unfortunate, but may she rest in peace. Justice was served. He's never gonna see the light of day again. He'll never be able to hurt somebody again. He's a fucking monster. Feels good to be able to say that and not get in trouble. You're a fucking monster, Henry. And yeah. So, we're gonna end it like we always do. In my Winnie the Poohsky voice, y'all. You're smarter than you think. You're braver than you believe. And you're stronger than you seem. I feel it in my heart. Every time. You know. Remember, it's all love over here. It's real over here. And until next time, make sure all y'all be real smooth with it. Real cool with it. And most importantly, as true as you can be with it. Yes, in my Lil Durk voice. It's all love. It's all love. I was probably off key, but I don't give one F. You already know. Shout out to you, Shell Baby. Thank you for your moderation and engagement and support. You know, you're a real one. Y'all be smooth, cool, and true. Salute, salute, salute.
Headlines start piling up. Yes, you can file your...
Janiyah McMichael Rogers. Help bring her home.
We need your love today. I know that you are listening. You hear me every day. Father, please hear us, and we will be okay. Father, we need you to heal families today.
Hell yeah.
Father, can you hear me? I'm calling on your name. Not Buddha nor Muhammad, but it's Jesus we cry out loud. Father, just forgive us. Hear us when we say we'll give you everything. Our lives and souls today. Father, you know we need it. I've never seen so much pain.
Never.
We have the faith for now. Your victory we will gain. Father, you know we mean it. There's no more heart of stone.
There ain't.
We're ready for your power. Now the city's gone. Father, we will say can you hear even me, Lord?
Can you hear us?
See, I'm coming to you, Lord, just as I am. I'm in need of the blood of the Lamb.
Let's go.
Oh, my
We need you, Father. Do you believe? Do you believe?
Oh yeah.
Janiyah McMichael Rogers.
Somebody say.
Help bring her home. Keep her name alive, y'all. Help bring her home. Salute.
Father,